All right, guys, welcome back. Today we're going to re-sleeve this 2003 CR125R cylinder. We've got a brand new LA sleeve. Customer's getting a new dome for the fat head. We've got one of these nice Vertex pistons that we're going to put back in it. We're going to start out with an A size, so that gives him B, C, and D later if he gets a little bit of wear in it. And of course, the beauty of a sleeve cylinder is that if he damages it badly enough, he can just simply bore it to the next size larger. This cylinder was recently seized, so it's got some damage in the plating on the exhaust side there. You can see some scuff marks and some damage. So first thing we're going to have to do is go ahead and strip the cylinder down. We need to pull all the studs out. We're going to have to pull the power valve assembly out of it. So we'll go ahead and get to that, get those all taken out first, and then we will put it in the boring bar and start boring it out. Okay, have all the cylinder studs stripped out, got the power valve linkage taken out. The power valve shaft is still in. I don't know how well you can see that, but the valves themselves are still in. So I need to get this out. There's a seal that retains it in. And of course, anybody who's ever done machine work already knows that no matter how many tools you have, you never have the right tool to do the job. So this happens to be a 1/4 inch SAE threaded adapter for my puller. That is the smallest one that I have. I do not have a 6x1.0, which is what this shaft is. So like almost all jobs, we're going to make a tool so we can get that out of there, and then we can go ahead and put it in the boring bar and get going on the sleeve job. So first we make a tool so we can get it apart. So yes, my lathe is in desperate need of cleaning. I'd love to say that I keep it spotless clean, but the reality is every time I clean it, I start another job and it gets all dirty. I need to get this sleeve in tonight so that I can get it finished up no later than tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a center drill in the chuck and get this thing bored out. Let's see how our new tool works. Came right out. Exhaust power valves are removed. Shaft, exhaust is all out of there. We are stripped down other than the water bolt. We'll probably pull that and the seal out before we bore it because it's going to have to go in the oven. So we'll give it a quick once over and we will put it in the boring bar. Got the cylinder mounted in the boring bar and got the bits set, so let's go ahead and give it a first cut. Looks pretty good. First cut's always the hardest because we need to make sure we're centered exactly on the original bore so we can get that back where we want it. But we also have to take the plating out in one shot. The plating is, 5 to 8 thousandths thick at the very most. A lot of these OEM cylinders are only 3-4 thousandths thick. So we take a decent cut just to get all the original plating out of the bore, make sure everything's pretty true. This one cleaned up really good. There's a bit of cleanup on the exhaust bridge, but that's all right. Kind of expect that. They usually take quite a bit of abuse and wear. So we'll go ahead and punch it out to the sleeve size. The original bore was 2-inch 125 thousandths. We need to punch the sleeve out, or we need to punch the cylinder out to fit the sleeve. And so we're going to need a bit bigger hole. So it looks like we're going to be about 2-inch 365, 64, like 2-inch 361. So we want to be about 4 thousandths smaller than that on our finished bore. So we're looking for a finish size of 1, 2, 3, 4. 2-inch 357 is what we're going to shoot for finished bore. We'll probably take that out in about 3 cuts. All right, this is the last bore. This is the one that has to be right. Now that we have the cylinder all bored, you can see that it's bored out. There is the counter bore around here to match the flange on the sleeve. That's what retains the sleeve. It's actually the press fit that retains the sleeve, but the lip helps make sure that it's clamped down. When the head's torqued on, it can't go anywhere. So even if it overheats, it can't move at all. We are now ready to take it over and put it in the oven, get the cylinder up to 450 degrees. We have just slightly over 4 thousandths interference fit between the sleeves, so the sleeve is 4 thousandths bigger than the bore of the cylinder. So when we heat the cylinder up, that'll expand the aluminum because it grows. We're going to take the sleeve, we're going to put it in the freezer, so the sleeve will shrink a little, cylinder will grow, and it'll drop in. So let's get it over to the oven, get it put in. Cylinder's been in the oven for an hour now. See how it's doing in here. Looks like we're 450 degrees. Cylinder looks pretty good, so we'll go ahead and get everything ready, and we will get the sleeve dropped in. Sleeves in and it's all lined up. Now we're going to take it over and put it in the press while it cools off. Cylinder's in the press right now. You can see I have a little bushing that sits on the sleeve but not on the aluminum. Got about a couple of tons of pressure on there right now, and we will leave that sit until it's cold to the touch, or at least room temperature. Cylinder's out of the press now. It's all cooled down. You can see our sleeve is nicely installed. Leave about 2 to 3 thousandths of sleeve sticking up the top here. So when I'm done with the bore job, I'm going to machine this surface off so it's nice and flat and it's perpendicular to the bore. You can see there's a pretty nice port match up there. I am going to go back in like I always do and touch them up and make sure that there's a good blend there. You can see there's a little bit of a step here. So again, before it goes back to the customer, we'll radius this back off, blend it in nice and smooth. But you can see LA Sleeve does a pretty awesome job with these things. Porting lines up real nice. So a couple of quick touches with the porting tool and the porting will be exactly where we want it. So now the next thing is put it back in the boring bar and we'll do the bore to size and then we'll hone it to a finish clearance. Okay, cylinder is back on the boring bar. If you were paying attention in the video, at the beginning you'll notice that I installed the cylinder in the boring bar with the head gasket surface up when I was boring it out for the sleeve. That allows me to go back in and cut the relief for the flange of the sleeve all in one operation, so they're all concentric. But when I'm boring the cylinder for the piston, I want to make sure that the bore is perpendicular to the base gasket surface, because that's the surface that's going to mount to the crankcase. And when I'm finished with the boring operation, I'll put it in the lathe and face it off at the top. So now I know that the bore is perpendicular to the base gasket because I know my boring fixture is that accurate. And then when I skim off the top to the bore, then I know both surfaces will be parallel and perpendicular to the bore. All right, so with all that explanation, I have made one quick pass. I always set it up, do a 2/1000 of an inch pass just to make sure everything's nice and true and it's all centered. It made a really nice cleanup cut. The sleeves are pretty rough when they come anyway, just because they're rough machined on the inside. So a couple thousandths pass gets it nice and true, gives me an accurate measurement with the boring bar so that I know how much I have to cut out. So let's go ahead and punch it out to the size that we need before we start honing. Cylinder's all bored to its machine size. We have a few thousandths left to hone. Always bore it just a little bit undersized, of course, because we're going to remove some material while we're honing it to a finish. Right now it is currently, get this over here, just right at 3 thousandths under the finished bore size that we were looking for. So we'll go ahead and deburr everything, and then we'll match the, we'll probably have to sandblast these ugly little power valves, but we'll get those all cleaned up, get this all deburred, get it honed to size, and then we'll put the power valves back together. Now we'll do the finish hone on the sun and machine. With that all done, we're going to go ahead and do the final check on the bore to make sure that it's got the clearance we want and it's nice and true and round. We want 2/1000 clearance. We're 2 there. 2 there. 2/1000 there. And 2/1000 right there. So we're exactly where we want to be for piston to cylinder clearance, and we're nice and true and round. So now it quick cleanup on the cylinder and put the studs back in and blast the power valves. Alright, so wrapping it up, here's our cylinder. I don't know how well you can see that in the video, but it's got a really nice finish. Ports matched up really good. Just clean things up. A little bit in the exhaust port as well. Got the top of the cylinder all machined off nice and square, so now we know the bore is perpendicular to the base gasket. The base and the head are parallel, so the head gasket surface is perpendicular as well. And it's clearanced to the final size. Now the power valves need to be put back in, and the studs. The cylinders for Gavin Eschholtz, and he's learning to be a pretty good mechanic, so I'm going to go ahead and give this back to him tonight, and he'll go ahead and put the power valves back in, get them all timed, get the studs all back in, so he can get his bike back together, and chances are he'll be riding it by Saturday. Anyway, I always try to make short videos that end up being videos that are longer than I thought, but here you go. Here's a CR125 being re-sleeved and ready to go back into service. Thanks for watching. If you like the video content, please subscribe to my channel. It helps out, then at least I know people are watching and people like what I'm doing. Thanks. Bye.